Next chapter, chapter 5, here we are. Talking about Fire Pro Wrestling up in Maryville, Indiana. It's kind of like our second home. You know, obviously, you know, we're from here in Lafayette and all that stuff, and you know, consider Triumph Pro Wrestling, you know, our home. You know.
Yeah.
But if we had to choose a home away from home, and the only other place I will really wrestle now is Fire Pro. You know, it's an awesome locker room. You know, a lot of, like I said, just everyone just is very level-headed there, very humble. You know, even, you know, you have a Kenny Cage or somebody here that's can just do, you know, has charisma, can bounce around in the ring, make it look like $1 million and all that stuff. You know, you see him talk to lesser-known guys and all that stuff and be cool with them and tell them, say, well, I'm better, you know, you gotta listen to what I say because I'm over, you're not, I'll listen to that stuff.
Yeah.
But, we started, actually I'll let Hadley kind of, because he was the one who actually got my foot, you know, got the foot in the door for us, and then brought me in, so.
Yeah, basically I just remember we were booked, well, we were wrestling for New Era Wrestling. PT was doing the booking at the time for them down in Shelbyville. Well, they, you know, we hadn't heard anything as to whether we were being used for that weekend, and so I called PT and asked him. He's like, no, they're not going to use you. And I think PT was on his way out of the booking at the time. So I was like, all right. So we were just, this is how you know how young in our career we were. We were just like, we want a booking. We want to see a show. So like, I remember I went on MySpace and saw that Fire Pro Wrestling was having a show that Saturday. So I messaged him on MySpace and I said, hey, you know, me and my partner, we're going to check out a show. Are you guys looking for new talent? And Steve got back to me. He's like, yeah. He's like, you know, we're always looking for new talent. You know, I think we're in the position now to look for new talent. I was like, oh, cool. Well, we'll bring tapes, you know, whatever. And I remember getting a call later that day from Louis Linares, and he was like, hey, are you on the Fire Pro tonight? I thought he was going to ask for a ride, and I was never a big fan of him. Like, Louis could go in the ring, but I just didn't like his personality. I thought he was too cocky, and I wanted to kill him. So I was like, I don't know yet. I'm still waiting to hear back from Rojas, you know. And he's like, well, if you can call Botch, which was Steve Zoe's wrestling character as a heel, he's like, if you could call him, he said something about you going, he thought I was your partner, because Louis Linares, Luis Rojas, and it sounded like, at least the first names. And so I called Steve, and Steve's like, yeah, it's funny because Osiris canceled. That's what I remember filling in the spot for. And so O had canceled, so I took his place against Machine. And I went there as a babyface. It was pretty much a squash match, but I got to do a couple things. And I mean, it was just really, you know, it was a really cool locker room. I remember that night, you know, it was the first night I ever, you know, crossed paths with Tristan Hayes. It was just awesome. You know, Chase Richards was there. Chase had put in a good word for me, him and I think Devon. I think Kenny did too. But like, I remember Steve mentioning that he mentioned my name to Chase, and Chase was like, oh yeah, definitely book him. And you know, that meant a lot to me too. But Chase was willing to put his neck on the line for me. And then I remember, you know, we gave him the tape, and then we were supposed to be booked for, it was supposed to be like a Survivor Series show, but you had something else going on, so you couldn't make it. I still went. That was the night I turned heel and teamed with Tristan, and I think it was Willie the Bomb and someone else. Oh, Hoss. And it was against Chase and Crusader. I was originally supposed to be on their team, but Tristan swayed me over there. And so then the following month, I was supposed to end up going into a group with Machine and Trauma, which were, you know, Trauma's this big black dude. He's awesome. He's hilarious. And Machine's just this big monster too. So then you got me, the little guy. I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I gotta be Scrappy Duke. You know, I gotta be the guy that starts trouble and then has my guys, you know, do the work. And I remember Trauma didn't show up. And we were supposed to go into a tag team thing that night, me and Trauma, in a four-way. Well, Trauma didn't show up, and he was supposed to team with Prince Ali. So then they had to switch things around, and I remember Steve, it was funny, because earlier that day we were just talking, I was like, dude, if we ever team up, we should try this move, you know? And you were like, maybe, who knows if it'll ever happen, or whatever. And I remember, hour later, Steve looks at me and goes, hey, Jeremy, you and Ross teamed up in Lafayette, don't you? I was like, yeah, we used to. He goes, you guys got a team name? I was like, yeah, we're the Uprising. He goes, all right, guys, this is the team that's winning the #1 contendership match tonight. We're just like, all right.
Yes, it just kind of sprung upon us, you know. And like I said, sometimes that's how things happen in independent wrestling and wrestling in general. I mean, it just happened out of the blue, you know. Just kind of, you know, if what's his name, Trauma, you said, showed up, and if I would have still stayed with team with Prince Ali, who knows what could have, you know, just would have, you never known, you know. They would have watched some tape of Lafayette and years later, oh, we could have teamed those guys. We should have teamed them back then. You know?
Exactly.
And they just kind of, like I said, just kind of fell into their lap, and, you know, Steve made the right call and said, hey, you know, these guys are, you know, they know each other, they got good chemistry, you know, let them, they win, you know. And it was a fun match. I mean, I don't remember a whole lot about it other than it was a fatal 4-way and all that stuff, and we got to work the promoter, which whenever, in my eyes, whenever we got to work with the promoter, the man who makes the decisions, normally that's a good sign, you know. To me, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
It means, you know, they see something in you and they kind of want to test you out, and, you know, so they can kind of get a on hands, you know, a direct feel of, you know, how you work and all that stuff. So, like I said, so that was kind of the formation of the Uprising up there. And then, like I said, I mean, like Hadley said, you know, we had a tag team reign for 14 months, which still stands the record these days, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, a lot of good things came out of that. I mean, just, you know, like I said, you know, one of the highlights of Fire Pro in our time there was not only the title reign, but also when we wrestled another good team that, you know, was good together, was Richie Rothschild and Johnny Motley.
Yes.
They used to do a match of the night every month. They, you know, okay, match of the night, let's vote. You can't vote for your own match, kind of thing, which just, I mean, just straight up showed you how humble, you know. You can't be an egomaniac, go up there and say, yeah, I think I had the best match, you know. You think that in the back of your mind, but you want your peers' approval, you know. And it, you know, we say we do everything for the fans. To be honest with you, yeah, we do stuff for the fans, but we also want the approval of our peers, you know, just like any work, you know. You want that respect. And one night we wrestled Richie and Johnny. They were fresh out of training, maybe about 4 or 5 months, maybe.
Something like that.
And, you know, and we had a match of the night with them. I still have yet to see that match to this day.
Tristan, if you have it on DVD, if you could send that our way, that'd be great.
Yeah, also Tristan, I've been asking you for it. I want a copy of our handicap match with you versus the Uprising from like 3 years ago.
Yeah, from May 2010. I will never remember that because that was the night I hurt my back, and that was a week before my wedding.
But we're still waiting for that. But
yeah.
I mean, that just tells the whole story right there on Fire Pro. I mean, there's always a good memory. There's always some cool guys, some very talented guys I'd love to have down here. You know, if like I think Tristan lives in Illinois or whatever, and it is kind of like a 2-hour trip or something for him. And you know, he's got a kid. You know, he's a good father, and you know, a good husband and all that stuff. And just for him to try to get down here is just kind of an odyssey. You know, a work. You know, the tough thing to happen. But I mean, that just kind of explains all of Fire Pro right there. Is, you know, there's just always, you know, a good story, a good backstory to all that stuff. Fun. There's, you know, very rarely have I ever seen drama up there. You know, I can't say no locker room even in WWE is drama free because it's not. You know, but I tell you what, freaking Fire Pro is one of the places that, you know, you kind of dream to work because you don't have to worry about this guy shooting off at the mouth because he thinks he's better and all this and that. And I could do this. Like, well, why are they booking him? You know, no, everyone's just cool, level-headed. We have more fun and joke about stupid stuff more than anything. You know,
and you know, and that's the thing is, it's like, you know, when I go to Fire Pro, it takes me back to what got me into business in the first place. Having fun. I mean, like, places like that, and for me, it was, at the time it was NWA Underground or Underground Championship Wrestling, but now it's 0-1. I think they're called 0-1 USA now, or 0-1 Underground. But Like when I go there, I just hang out with everybody. I don't even, if I were to show up there and they were like, hey, you're not booked, I'd probably stick around for half the show. Because I just want to hang with the boys. And that's the thing is, it's like, it's just, what happened to just going out there and having fun? And that's the thing that I love about Fire Pro. So when I go to Fire Pro, I know that, yeah, I'm going to go out and I'm going to have a match, and hopefully it'll be good. Hopefully I'll carry my end. But at the end of the day, I just want to hang out with like Kenny Cage and Jinx and Tristan and the Kents and Dave Allen and all these guys. I just want to hang out with them, just joke around, and have a good time. And plus, I think it's Stuntman's dad brings food, so that helps too. But no, speaking of compliments though, from the last chapter, one that I forgot was Kate Lee. Kate Lee actually told me, I know his wife had told me he had said it, and then Kate Lee had actually told me himself that he's like, if Jeremy Hadley had 15 more pounds on him, he'd be heavyweight champion with no end in sight. I mean, that just, it's like, wow, you know, that's a pretty big feat for, you know, a guy that, you know, yeah, I know he's saying that's still technically too small, but regardless, at the same time, the fact that he thought of me in that context is still pretty meaningful. I don't take it as a backhanded compliment. It's a huge compliment in itself. He wasn't saying, you know, I don't see him as him saying, oh, you're too small to be in the visit. He's just saying by the heavyweight standards, I don't fit the weight class, and I understand that. I completely agree with it. But also, it was a huge honor for me on May 19, 2012 to wrestle Brandon Michael Kent in the company's very first cage match. That meant a lot to me because that told me that they believe in me, you know. Like, okay, not only they put me against a champion, but they're putting me in the very first cage match that they ever had. And from what I was told afterwards, lived up to the hype, so that was a huge compliment as well. So, you know, Fire Pro has put me over numerous times that I didn't have to. I owe them my life.
Same with me, kind of thing is, you know, the plan was booking with Lynn Marie and Sean's wife, Katie's wife or whatever, and kind of having us doing our own thing or whatever, and you know, maybe possibly putting together a group or whatever. But just for them to actually, you know, put me in that, you know, leadership position or whatever, and it's just awesome. It's just a privilege. Which, like I said, I mean, kind of backtrack for a quick second and kind of wrap it up with talking about the man who started it all, Steve Zoe. Like I had mentioned earlier that he had cancer or whatever, and you know, he fought a heck of a fight. Like I said, I'll forever be grateful. I mean, not only having a fiance that has cancer herself and is battling it, you know, I'll never, you know, understand the battle. You know, all I know is that it's tough. You know, and being someone who has to be there to support someone who has it, I know that it can be extremely excruciating. Like Bob Zoe currently runs it now. You know, the battle he had to, you know, to fight with his son, you know, until he finally passed. You know, it's just, you know, can't speak enough about the guy, because I mean, this guy was going through his cancer treatments and still wrestling. You know, go through all the treatments, battling, and still, you know, doing the promoting, the booking, and all that stuff. You know, he laid the groundwork for, you know, Fire Pro, you know, and you know, it flourished under him. You know, it's just, you know, it was awesome. And like I said, you know, I can never say enough good things about that guy. You know, like I said, he still to this day will probably forever be one of the, you know, if not the top compliment I've ever gotten in wrestling. You know, no matter, I don't care how many titles, you know, people want to put on me and say, oh, we think you know, take the company and carry it. You know, to be honest with you, nothing is more important than getting a promoter's approval and saying, you entertain me. Last I checked, that's what pro wrestling was about, was entertainment.
I remember the first time I really, because like, you know, we kind of came, I mean, not to say that everybody at Fire Pro was just part of the close-knit family from the start before they showed up there to wrestle, but, you know, we kind of came from the outside, kind of just stepped in, kind of almost, in a way, it was like we were outsiders. They never made us feel that way, it's just that's, you know, we kind of felt like everybody there was kind of, they knew this guy from this place and all we really knew was Chase, and I knew Jinx. And we did like Chase, Devon, and Kenny, and that was it. But I remember the first time I really felt a part of the family was Brandon was in the ring working out with someone, and I heard him say, you know, what do you want from me, Hadley? And I'm just like, what? And Steve pulls me aside and goes, dude, check this out. He said him and Chase were on a road trip. They went to some show, I think it might have been Underground, but they said they saw this really horrible match. And one of the guys comes to the back and it asks someone, he's like, hey, what'd you think? Did you see my match? What'd you think of it? And Steve's like, I hate when a guy comes to the back, knows he has a horrible match, and he comes to the back and asks what you thought of it. Next time someone does that, I'm gonna be like, what do you want? What do you want? And Chase was like, you know what, man? He goes, I'm gonna do that the next Fire Pro show. He goes, I hope Hadley comes through the curtain. And he asked me what I thought of his match. I'm like, what do you want from me, Hadley? And then he goes, you know what? Even better. He goes, I hope Cade Lee comes through the curtain and asks me, what'd you think of my match? And Chase goes, I'm gonna look at him, throw like spikes of coffee or something. Like, what do you want from me, Hadley? And then like, that was because it was like, wow, an inside joke centered around me. These guys, you know, Chase knows me, but Steve barely does. And I remember when I deleted my MySpace because I just got tired of putting up with crap. He texted me and he's like, hey, why'd you delete your MySpace, bro? You know. And I talked to him at the next show. He goes, yeah. He goes, I was gonna text you and ask if your girlfriend made you delete it, but then I thought, what if she did? So I decided not to say that. I mean, he was just so humorous. And one of my other favorites, real quick, was when we'd only been there a couple months. We were feuding with Risk Factor, Jinx and Roach, and we were doing a run in. Cade Lee was facing Steve, and Risk Factor was running out to make a save, and me and Rojas were running out directly after. And I just remember going over it in the back, and Steve's like, okay, he goes, yeah, I'll hit Rojas with the belly to belly. Roach, you hit Hadley with the TKO. So he's giving all these specific moves. You hit the TKO on Hadley, Roach, and then Jinx, you just do a flip. And it's just like just so nonchalant. You know, Jinx, you just do a flip. I don't care. I mean, I just remember to this day, it still makes me laugh.
You know, like I said, you know, we owe. I mean, Fire Pro. Everyone at Fire Pro kind of owes Steve. You know, and that's why I still got the band in my ring bag of, you know, this little Zote, you know, the armband or whatever. So I pulled it out a while. I had to pull it out.
I lost mine somewhere, and I was very angry when I did because I used to wear that on every show.
So we appreciate Fire Pro. We appreciate you, the late Steve Zote. God rest in peace. Like I said, we appreciate everything for Fire Pro.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.